me a book that has been a little difficult. Is that right? Okay, so this is called Amelia Bedelia Bakes Off. What's been difficult about it? Is it hard words or does it just not make sense? Hard words. Does it make sense? Not really sure. It's just hard in general. Alright, so let's go ahead. I'm going to listen to you read for a little bit and then we're just going to... Have you read this before? Have you read this story before? Oh, you've never read this book? Okay, here's something I want you to know. See this person here? This is Amelia Bedelia. And I want to tell you something about Amelia Bedelia. She is silly. Do you know silly people? Who's someone that's silly that you know? Is Jaden silly? He is. He does silly things. And that makes you laugh. Does your mom always laugh when he does silly things? Yeah. Does he get in trouble sometimes when he does silly things? No? Boy, sometimes I do silly things, and when I was little, I would do silly things, and I would get in trouble. Because my mom did not think they were funny. Has that ever happened to you? No? Wow. Well, this is a story about somebody, Amelia Bedelia, who does silly things. She makes silly mistakes, and that gets her in trouble. And we're going to try to figure out why that is and what are the mistakes that she's making. Okay? Are you good?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to have you read out loud and then we'll talk about the silly Amelia Bedelia.
On her day off, Amelia Bedelia stopped by to visit Mr. and Mrs. Rogers. Morning, everybody, said Amelia Bedelia. Shh, said Mr. Rogers. Sorry, said Amelia Bedelia quietly. Don't mind him, said Mr. and Mrs. Rogers. He is watching his favorite show, What's Cooking. I give up, said Amelia Bedelia. What are you cooking? Nothing, said Mrs. Rogers. That is the name of the program. Mr. Rogers was getting annoyed. Please be quiet for Pete's sake.
Okay, we're going to stop right there. Did you notice a silly mistake that Amelia Bedelia made already? What was the silly mistake that she made?
She didn't know that Mr. Rogers was watching TV.
Yeah, and when he said, or when Mrs. Rogers said he's watching his favorite show, What's Cooking, Amelia Bedelia thought that was a question, didn't she? That was really silly. Good, I'm really glad you picked up on that. So now I want you to turn the page and we're going to see if we can pick up on the silly things she does.
Who was Pete? Amelia Bedelia whispered. Miss Rogers smiled and said, his name is Chef.
This is a foreign word. Du jour.
He shows people how to make
It's a tough word there. What's the beginning sound? Right, the beginning sound is G. This is another word that kind of has a different background, but maybe you've heard it before. Gourmet. Sometimes when we use foreign words, they don't make the same sounds as the words we use in English, but this is gourmet. Can you say gourmet?
Gourmet. Yes, a fancy dessert. Mr. Rogers turned up the volume. Don't forget, Chef DuJour was saying, I'll pick the winner of my Big Bake Off contest. The best baker will get $1,000. The audience
Let's look at the picture to help us with that word. What are they doing? What's the audience doing? What is she doing? What does it look like she's doing? Clapping. This word is the same word as clapping. It's a synonym for clapping. Can you stretch it out the best way you can?
Nodded.
Good, you did that. That was right.
Wildly. Mr. Rogers clapped his hands too. Wow, he said, $1,000. That is a lot of dough. Not really, said Amelia Bedelia. $1,000 is a lot of deer, but there's no dough at all.
Okay, we're going to stop there. Did you notice something silly that Amelia Bedelia just did? What did she do?
She said that they were deer, but they're...
What was he saying? What did Mr. Rogers mean when he said that is a lot of dough? Did he mean deer?
No.
No, what did he mean?
The dough for making pizzas.
Okay, if we go back here, he says, wow, he said $1,000. What are $1,000? $1,000. That is a lot of dough. Have you ever heard somebody say that money is, they refer to it as dough? Have you ever heard that before? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I want you to look at me for just a minute. We're going to stop reading. So here's the thing I want you to do when you're reading this book. It is a hard book. And we have to always look for the silly mistakes that Amelia Bedelia is making. And it always has to do with words that have multiple meanings. Sometimes one word can mean something completely different, right? Because a dough is a kind of deer. A dough is a crust of pizza, isn't it? But dough can also mean money. So as you're reading this book, I want you to really pay attention to that, okay? Where are the hidden meanings of the words? And if it doesn't make sense, then you know what? I'm going to give you a couple sticky notes, and I want you to flag it when it doesn't make sense. So far, you've done a great job of figuring out her silly mistakes. But if it doesn't make sense, I want you to put a flag in it so that Miss Gass can help you when she reads with you next time. Can you do that for me? Alright, so if this was one that didn't make sense, you would put your sticky note right there. Okay? Now, sticky notes are not something that a lot of kids get, alright? I reserve these for kids that need to flag some of the tough stuff, alright? So don't give them to other kids. These are just for you. Alright? Can you do that for me? Well, Casey, it was a pleasure reading with you, and I hope that you enjoy Amelia Bedelia and all her silly mistakes. Okay? Can I get a smile before you leave? Oh, good, good. All right, you can go ahead and go back to your seat. Whew, she's